This is the REI Helix Sleep Pad, and it is insulated with an R value of 4.9, so just a little bit bigger or higher number in value than the Tensor. It is 72 by 24, and it weighs a little bit more, a pound 10 ounces, but it is less money. Let's first pump it up and show you how it works. One thing to note, this is 24 inches wide. Most sleeping pads that are the wide size are 25 inches. And this one slightly tapers down towards the bottom. But if you have a tent that tapers, this might be a good option. One unique thing about this pad is that it has a separate valve for deflate and inflate. Actually, this is the deflate, which is good because with our Tensor, they're combined together, and Greg has actually accidentally pulled the deflate. This comes with a Velcro that tightens it down, tight one. We have the deflate, so we want the bright orange. I'm gonna open that up and take our sack, and it slides right in there and snaps. It is the same color, so you know orange and orange. Now that I've played around with this a few times, I realize that I don't actually have to blow air into it like we do with our Tensor. So that should help keep any moisture from getting inside the sleep pad itself. That is it, that's all. So I have a little bit left over. Take that off, and I don't have to worry about that air coming out because it is sealed up, and I will shut it. Now you can really see the slight taper.
If you look at the pattern of these baffling on here, you notice that it's not the long tubes like some of them have, and so having like the quilted pattern is nice because when you put pressure on it, it doesn't have to equalize that whole huge thing, and it actually will keep you lifted up off the ground. So there's a divot here, but if you flip it over, you can see that this is where that divot was, and there's a nice puffy insulated layer right there. And so having those divot points be offset means that there's not going to be any cold points when you're laying on this, so that's really good. This is the Nemo Tensor insulated regular wide, and so we'll set this one up and we'll show you the difference between the two. And oftentimes you don't really want to jam as much air into it as you can because it's pretty hard, both of them, pretty much all pads. And sometimes you might want to let just a little bit of air out to make it a little softer, depending on how you like to sleep. So now that you can see both pads next to each other, you can look at the top here, and there's a little bit of curvature at the top that you notice that this doesn't have. Pan down here, you can definitely see the taper on this guy on the REI versus the Nemo. Texture wise, this Helix, it's nice and smooth, although it definitely feels a little more sturdy than the material does. I'm not sure what denier, how thick it is, but it feels thicker than this one. This one is a little smoother, but it feels fragile. And that's part of the reason why we have an extra footprint on our tent, is to keep these from popping. This one actually feels a little more robust. Put it on top here and you can see the difference. It's very similar, just a little tiny taper.
I normally sleep cold. I have actually a 20-degree bag, but since it's going to be in the lower 50s, I'm going to risk it and try Greg's new 35-degree bag.
I think we did it.
As for the sleeping bag, I didn't have any issues with being cold last night. Of course, this isn't what I'd normally wear if I was backpacking. But
so as you can see, she had full outfit on. I had a t-shirt on. That's it. Well, and shorts. And I was uncovered most of the night.
So how did this REI Sleep Pad do? A little bit of difference between the Tensor and it. When I was laying on my back, it worked really well. Couldn't feel anything. When I was on my side, felt a little bit more, definitely above plus of some of the other older sleeping pads, the other style sleeping pads. After sleeping on this pad for a couple nights now, here are my thoughts. One, the valves. I absolutely love that there's a separate deflate and inflate. Number 2 would be the pump sack. It actually has the color-coded ending, so you don't ever have to worry about getting it into the wrong valve. And the wide opening, so I'm not having to blow air into it, introducing moisture into the bag, which could in turn get into the pad, which in turn could cause mold. Number 3 is the stuff sack. It actually is a little bit oversized, so you don't have to worry about rolling up your pad and getting it as small as possible to fit into this thing. Number 4, comfort of the Helix pad. I actually would give it a 10 out of 10 if you're a back sleeper, and actually a 7 or 8 if you're a side sleeper. Number 5, size and shape. It actually is a 24-inch pad, and it is plenty big. I didn't find myself falling off it at all, and I didn't actually have any issue with the tapering at the end. And finally, price. REI actually set this at a really good price point compared to a lot of the high-end sleeping pads, and it still has a lot of great features that you expect in a quality pad. Go watch this video next. You can find out more about us at explorertrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.